Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And welcome to America's Heroes Group. And this week we have the Roundtable with Clean Energy Infrastructure partner Zodiac Solutions LLC. Today is Saturday, March 5th, 2022. March is National Women's History Month and Disability Awareness Month. The host you just heard was Kelley. I'm the co-host, Sean Claiborne. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. And our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And welcome to America's Heroes Group. We have one thing we want to make sure you know is that you can watch us live right now on Facebook. Right now on Facebook, go to search America's Heroes Group. You can see us on Facebook, Google, and YouTube. Just search America's Heroes Group or hashtag America's HG right now. Now, our partner, Rob Howard, he's a U.S. Navy veteran and the president and CEO of Zodiac Solutions, LLC. He's brought a special guest today, Mr. Rod Matthew. He's a U.S. Navy veteran and the owner of Brevian Energy, specializing in microgrid technologies and renewable energy. Welcome, gentlemen.
How you doing? Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Our pleasure is all ours. We're going to talk about federal funding to put more electric charging stations across America. So tell us what's going on. They have some federal funding going in to put charging stations across America. The states are given the go-ahead to spend $5 billion over 5 years to replace or upgrade electrical charging stations every 50 miles along the country's interstate highway system. Tell us more about that.
Well, before we even start with that, we want to make sure everyone understands that the electrical charging stations are only one slice of this entire renewable energy portfolio that is rolling out, and we need to get veterans engaged in it. So that $5 billion is going to different states, and the reason I brought Rod is Rod, I really have an appreciation for the fact that he can break it down as to how we look at each piece. So the $5 billion, as an example, in California, will get a cut in California. That'll be rolled out with various programs throughout California. And what I'm excited to hear about, Rod, if you can talk a little bit about, we think of an electrical charging station, the thing at your house or what you see at the gas station. There's actually two big categories. One's the regular charger. It takes a little bit of time, an hour or so or more to charge, but they also have the Type 2, which is, 15 minutes?
Oh, wow.
To get full charge. So it's incredibly exciting because of what the technology brings to it.
Okay. So tell us more about that, Rod. And so tell us about the charging stations, and also one of the biggest pushbacks against electric vehicles is, at least for a wider use, is the charging time. That's something that has come up a lot.
Yeah, well, again, thank you very much. As Rob alluded to a little bit earlier, there are really like two types of chargers. One is more commercially suitable. It's called a DC fast charger. The actual demand on those are about 50 kilowatts and up, so they're pretty hefty, pretty beefy. They only take about 15 minutes to charge a vehicle on a normal vehicle. And the other type is a standard Type 2 charger, which you find those typically at home. Those take about, as you said before, like an hour to charge a vehicle. And those typically run about 6 kilowatts of power. So the power demand is much less on those. But they do take a lot longer to charge up.
Yeah. So what's the opportunity for veterans and opportunities for people, especially when you're talking about job creation? What are the opportunities with this money being spent in all the different states? So that money's $5 billion across 50 states, still a lot of money. And there's one thing we can talk about as far as the push for electric cars, but then which is mainly for climate change and things along those lines. But there's another opportunity for people to get jobs and also job creation.
Well, I see it as in really kind of three different buckets. One, as an entrepreneur, there are opportunities there. I know here in California, they have a program called the Cal EVIP, which is a California Electric Vehicle Incentive Program that is giving out money to entities to supply fast chargers and Type 2 chargers in the infrastructure. Here, just in our county alone, they're going to be giving out about $20 million in order to help do that.
Wow, so this is free for people, for typical homeowners, or how does that work?
Well, really, it's for people who are providing these chargers to the public primarily.
Okay.
They're going to be giving these incentives to.
Wow.
For like the DC fast chargers we talked about, they're giving up to $50,000 or up to $60,000 if you're in a disadvantaged area, like in a community of concern. And for the really fast, the really high capacity fast chargers, they're giving up to $70,000 for typical entities and up to $80,000 for disadvantaged communities. And some of the areas that qualify for the DC fast chargers are areas where you tend to be, you come in and you get your services and you're out, places like airports, casinos, big parking lots, gas stations, grocery stores, things of that nature. And the level 2 chargers, which, like I said, usually take about an hour to charge, then those.
I got some background noise there.
Excuse me.
That's no problem.
Yeah, because
all that picking up somebody else.
So Rob, can you tell us about this? So the opportunities that they're giving out these chargers to different, I'm assuming these are mostly businesses then. They're giving these, providing free chargers or free use of chargers to people who have electric cars. Now, my concern is that it started just with gasoline once upon a time. When gasoline was the energy du jour, 50, 70 years ago, it was very, very cheap. I mean, you could buy a gallon of gas for pennies. Now it's $4 or $5 for a gallon of gas. Is there going to be a time when we look up and then they're going to start charging for electricity? And how do you see that playing out in the future years? Because electric cars are coming. I mean, regardless of whether you're pro electric car or not, automobile manufacturers, as we know, are already starting to switch over to making strictly electric cars or at least hybrid cars. So that being said, that's what we're going to have to choose from. It's going to be mostly electric cars. So is that going to be a day when we look up and say, okay, now we got to pay for this use, for these charging stations?
Well, we pay for it now. For the charging infrastructure currently, you come in now and typically you pay, unless you have it at your own home, you pay to charge your vehicle. And that's why they're really rolling this out en masse right now, because most, if not all of the manufacturers, I know the administration is pushing that by 2030, which, literally is not around the corner when you blink your eyes, they have committed to having at least 75% of the cars that are on the road at that time be electric vehicles.
So what is going to happen?
So that's going to be a very large shift in our technology.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming up. That's why they're really trying to promote getting these electric vehicle chargers out, so people can go, easily to go charge them up.
So what's going to happen with all the cars, like all the old Tesla, not the Teslas, but the old Fords and GMs and Buicks out there? They're going to have to get new electric cars. You're not going to be able to keep their hot rods and things like that. How's that going to work?
You're still going to be able to keep those. They're not going to outlaw those. It's just the one coming out, the newly manufactured vehicles are only going to be electric. So they're not going to be, building any new combustion engines. But they're not going to say outlaw, at least in the foreseeable future, outlaw any of the combustion engines right now.
But you do see it.
But as I was kind of alluding to earlier, those are their advantages because 75% of the new cars on the market are going to be electric vehicles. Having skills as a electric vehicle maintenance technician is going to be key, right? So that's an area where I can see veterans transitioning into acquiring those particular skills would be very valuable coming up in the near future, because you have to have a combined set of skills. You have to have the skills of a regular mechanic and the skills of a renewable energy technician. So that's a new skill set, combined skill set that I think will bode well for veterans here in the future.
And hopefully their prices will start coming down on some of these electric vehicles, because right now electric vehicles are still seen primarily as kind of a luxury item. They're a lot more expensive than regular gasoline cars, but they cost less to produce, which is the ironic part about it. When you look at the parts and the cost of actually producing an electric car, way less expensive than a combustion engine. A lot less things that can go wrong in an electric car than a combustion engine, but they're still charging us, a lot more money. So when is the price going to come down?
I mean, it's economies of scale, just like everything else, really. As they build more of them, incrementally the cost will come down per unit. You're starting to see that even now. They're considerably, a Toyota Prius is, cheaper now than it was when they first started coming out, 4, 5, 6 years ago. They're cheaper than they are now.
So, Rod, tell us how can veterans get involved? What do we need to do to get involved if people are interested? And I was a mechanic in the military, so a person who might have job skills coming out of the military, we have tons of mechanics coming out of the military. What can they do, or what should they be doing right now to get started in this?
Well, first of all, you can look to see what it is you'd like to do. If you'd like to be a mechanic for electric vehicles, there are specialty programs that are out there readily available. One of them I know is they have a program called the Open Learning Initiative that for free you can go and go to their electric vehicle technology STEM class online and learn and get a certificate. So that's you can go there at oli.cmu.edu. So that's the Open Learning Initiative. So that's just one of the ways that you can obtain those skills. I mean, this is a certificate-based program that you can get 30 credits for, and it's a free program, particularly for veterans.
So let me ask you this. Why do you think there's so many people out there? There was an article that was written about this on the San Diego Tribune, and the Tribune was actually reposted on the Newsbreak website. And there was a lot of posts on there that were pushing back on the article that was talking about exactly the thing that we're talking about. The fact that electric cars are coming. There's this bill that's out there right now from the Biden administration to put all these charging stations along interstate highways. So every 50 miles there'll be a charging station. Some being upgraded. Some are going to be the fast chargers. But a lot of people still believe that there is not. It's something that's pie in the sky. That the electric car is not for them. So what are some of the arguments that people or misconceptions people have about electric cars? One of the big things is, which may not be a misconception as much, but there's a concern about the batteries. What do you do with all these old batteries? Are the batteries going to last? And also on the flip side of that, the opportunities for technicians. Are you going to have special training and environmental expertise in dealing with lithium-ion batteries?
I would. You know what? People also struggled with the car and the combustion engine when it started coming out. People struggled with the internet. New technology requires us to be open. Typically what happens, particularly in the veteran community, in the underserved communities, because we're I guess, culturally tempered to stay away from new things, we find out what happens after the fact. These electric cars, because remember, while we're thinking about 5, 10 years, the people who are planning this are planning for 25 years and 40 years. Not only is it coming for the electric cars, but remember, we have a supply chain that requires trucks. We have cities and counties across the country right now renewing their fleet with electric vehicles. And so when governmental entities start filling that void and creating that supply or creating that demand for the supply, then we're going to need those chargers, because it's not only going to come, there are cities doing it now. We're looking, one of the things we do from an entrepreneurial perspective is that we watch and monitor what's coming so that we can get involved in that. And trust me, not only is it about the electric vehicles, but it's the infrastructure. It's also, you talked earlier about that electricity, and that's basically what our really focus is about, and that's that microgrid. Because now, yes, the price of electricity, if you are not generating it, it will continue to rise, because there is only so much that's going to be supplied because of the infrastructure, and that's where the microgrids come in. We want to make sure that cities are able to now, they're supplying the electric charger, but you still have to supply the electricity to charge.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think it's more than just those EVs. It's about we are shifting off of fossil fuels, and so EVs are a part of the transition.
And I like what you said, Rob, because, like I said, I keep coming back to that. We have to find, in my opinion, we have to find better technology, newer technology like microgrids, things like that, to try and produce more electricity. Because the reality is, fossil fuels, there's only so much of it on planet Earth. I mean, you can argue that Putin's over in Ukraine right now. That's what that war is about. The areas that he's primarily accusing the Ukrainians of having taken Russians hostage, and that there's Russian supporters and they're being held out of their will. Those are the areas where there's natural gas and oil. Just coincidentally, the ones that he's fighting and crying about are the ones where all the oil is at. You went into Crimea. Crimea was about oil. They're surrounded by oil in their oceans and things like that. So that being said, it's in I think our nation's best interest to look at things like electricity, and electrons are everywhere. We're surrounded by electrons. You get it from the sun. You can get it from fossil fuels. You can get it from burning stuff. You can get it from this spinning a wheel. But so that's something I think is really important. Are we spending enough money and attention though on the second part of it, the part that you allude to, Rob?
I don't think so. But what I will say is this: veterans should really be looking at what military installations are doing. And there is a word that is not talked about enough that I think is key to everything we're talking about, and that's resilience. Are we being resilient? Can I, in the event of a storm, be able to have power? What happens in my community when the other sources of electricity are not there? You want to create some resiliency, and if we do that in the community that our veterans are coming back to, because the military is creating resiliency on every single military installation. Who's doing that? Our men and women in the armed forces. And when they come out, they have the knowledge, skills, and ability to help our communities. And that's why we're here, to try to make this connection and tell people, look, the training is available. Rod gave you one that's an open source. It's there. You can go get that training. And what's so cool about it is take that training you got in the military and recognize you understand infrastructure. I don't even remember, probably the first time we talked, I'm always amazed that we can take a military outfit, put them in the middle of the desert, and by sundown, they're cooking, they have lights, there's heat if they need it, there's air conditioning if they need it. That's the ability of our veterans. And that's what this whole EV infrastructure is about as a part of the whole microgrid infrastructure, but we have to make sure our communities are resilient. There is extra money for communities of concern in this grant program. You know what that means? That strip mall with the barbecue shack or the laundromat, put you a couple of EVs there, so that we start to model the behavior of what's coming. I just see it as we're going to get there, and the question is, can we get all our veterans on board to try to do it? There's an entrepreneurial track, there's a jobs track, there's also a community track.
I like that entrepreneurial edge. So, I mean, that's something I never really thought about, because for some reason, I'm still thinking in the old school gas station type mentality but with a EV station, you can really put that anywhere. So that could be, you could put that pretty much, on my apartment building. I could have one. I could have one, at the, like you said, a chicken shack, whatever you want to put it, that's where you can do it.
And even with the microgrid technologies that we deploy, you can literally put it anywhere in the middle of the desert, because we can generate the power with the microgrid to facilitate the electricity to run the chargers. So I think that's really going to be key as well in some of these areas that are more remote. We have a company called Brevian. They just went public here just shortly.
Yeah.
They partnered with Ford with their new F-150 Lightning. But they're really going to be running a lot of off-road vehicles. That's what they're going to be specializing in. So people who go off-roading are in areas that are off the grid, right? So these people are going to need ways to really charge their vehicles, so they're going to have to go with off-grid solutions. So we can facilitate power anywhere. So you're going to see more and more usage of these charging technologies, because they're going to be where the people want to go.
So, Rod, so what do you say to the person who's, I had a conversation with someone not too long ago, and they were afraid that one day if they got this electric car that they're going to be out, driving with their kids out and, trying to go someplace far, and they're going to be stuck because the car is just going to stop. When you have a mechanical car a gas combustion engine car, it gives you signs and symptoms usually when it starts to go bad. But anybody that's had a power tool, anybody that's worked with a cell phone or whatever, or any kind of electronic device that has a battery, it just cuts off. it doesn't necessarily always give you a warning signal or a flashlight saying, hey, I'm getting ready to go out. What would you say to a person like that who's afraid of that change or that type of new technology?
I would say they need to have rode with me with some of the gas cars that I had in that they gave me no indication when they quit. So I mean, you're in a technology that unfortunately it doesn't last forever. I mean, there are warnings, there are gauges and signals just like everything else on other vehicles, and tow trucks tow electric vehicles just like they tow combustion vehicles. So at the end of the day, AAA works with both ways. So I mean, for as that goes, I don't see a real difference in that. And as you stated earlier, there are less things that can go wrong with the electric vehicle than with the combustion vehicle. So I think you're probably maybe in better shape overall.
So one more time.
You know what?
And I mean, and generally, like I said, and by the time these roll out in mass, like I say, 2030, you're going to see the majority of the new vehicles being sold are electric vehicles. So that means they're going to be cheaper. They're going to be more mechanics. So you're not going to have to go to a specialty mechanic. You're going to just go to a mechanic because all the mechanics are going to be EV mechanics.
So that being said, do the mechanics today need to be brushing up on their skills or changing their skill set?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they have to get those skills. I mean, either that or find a new job.
And if you'll go now, and one recommendation I'll make to people to get off the fear, go into these car dealers, test drive an electric car.
Oh, yeah.
Just get your comfort level up because, again, it's coming. Mm-hmm. It's coming. Matter of fact, it's here in many communities. So let's not be left behind. That's my big concern. Right. Let's get in front.
Absolutely. And even if you're a mechanic today, the skill set that you had 20 years ago, if you didn't update your skill sets from 20 years ago, there's no way you can even work on the cars today. I mean, because most of the cars today, you plug them into a computer, and the computer tell you what's wrong with it.
Rob, I appreciate your time. We're out of time right now. Thanks for joining America's Heroes Group. We'll see you guys again.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.